Good morning. If you're able, please stand for the pledge and then be seated for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Gracious God, we thank you for all who have served our nation in uniform. Bless them for their courage, sacrifice, and devotion. Grant them peace in their hearts and strength in their days. May we never forget the cost of their service or fail to honor their gift of freedom. They stood for us. Now we stand in gratitude. They are more than soldiers. They are a heartbeat of our freedom. May we always lift them and their families in prayer. And may we never forget the courage, the sacrifice, the love they gave. May they feel your loving arms around them, even when confusion reigns. Amen. Today's speaker is Dick Crabtree, and he'll be up here in a little while. Dick's a retired elder law attorney whose practice in Colorado also focused on veterans law, estate planning, and probate. He's also a resident director on the ARC Board of Directors, and we look forward to hearing from him in a little while. So until then, please enjoy your lunch. Test. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A couple announcements, and then we'll be introducing some chefs, et cetera, et cetera. We will not be having an Eagle lunch in December, okay? So I need a volunteer who can feed everybody. No, okay. Well, then we will not be feeding anybody either. We always take off for December, and so we'll be starting back in January. Also, tomorrow is the resident council meeting in here. The new resident council chair, Gloria Magruder, will be chairing that. That starts at 9 a.m., and there'll be seats for as many people show up. It's always a good informational type meeting, and it will be recorded in case you can't make it. Let me introduce the chefs, and I need all the work staff. I got more people here than I know. You're here. That's the important thing. You're here. Starting next week, she's going to be the new bartender in the main dining room. She knows how to open a beer, she told me, so that's good. All right, Javier is our main chef here. And then we've got James Nadon. We've got Gladys, and I can't remember his name. So, Nadar. Oh, that's right, I got that. Never mind. That's right here, Nadar, yes. Well, anyway, and all of our wait staff, let's give them a big round of applause. Please. You guys, all of you do a great job, and we really, really appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Also, don't forget my favorite subject. What is it? Smith Fun, yes. We're trying to raise as much money as we can. Last year was a great year. We're a little short of what we raised last year, so please keep that in mind. The last date, Gloria, where are you? Right here. Okay, last date is what, in November? Day before Thanksgiving, 26th, I think. And the checks will be handed out on November 5th. And I'm going to tell you, December the 5th. No, I was the one that got the check on the November the 5th. I'm sorry. December the 5th. And I'm going to tell you, if you've never participated in handing out checks, because everybody's welcome. We can just line everybody up and down the hall. It is something to see. They are so appreciative. And if you've seen the video on the portal that Gloria and Anna Sweden put together with about 5 or 6 staff of what the Smith Fund means to them and how it's helped them, let me tell you, that'll get you right here. Matter of fact, I saw it, and I wrote another check. And I mean, I'm serious. It was that touching. So anyway, please keep that in mind. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Dick Crabtree and Karen Curry. Karen and Dick are going to talk a little bit. Karen, both of them are ARC residents. They're going to spend a little time talking about her firsthand experience handling complicated affairs of her deceased husband. And Dick, as I told you earlier, is an attorney, handled these types of things. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Karen Curry and Dick Crabtree. Happy Veterans Day!
And my clicker is where?
I left it over here, yeah. How many times soon?
Okay. What? Will that back one come on?
Yeah.
through those slides.
Well, hello, everybody. Can you hear me all right? Thank you for being here. I was a little worried. I didn't know if anybody would come, but I'm glad to see everybody's here, and hope you had a great meal. As always, these meals are always the best deal going at the Ark for the quality and the price. So get started here. First of all, since it's Veterans Day, I want to recognize and thank all the veterans in the room. And as General Klein pointed out yesterday in his talk, I'd like to recognize and thank all the spouses. Because as General Klein said yesterday, thank you. As General Klein pointed out yesterday, the veterans couldn't have served and done their job serving the country without the support of their spouses and their families. So thank everybody for what you've done to protect and defend this country. Before we get started, I'd like to ask that you please turn off your phones and other devices. I make that request for a couple of reasons. One, if your phone goes off, it might wake up people at your table, and that would be kind of rude. But the more important reason is that if I hear a phone go off, since I'm going to be laser focused today, I'll probably lose track of where I'm at. And with my short-term memory, what it is, I may not get the train back on the track. So please make sure your phones are off today. I was concerned when David asked me a month ago if I would do this today, because I've never presented before a group where there was food so close to the podium. When I gave my two presentations in 2023 and 2024 on advanced directives, there was no food, it was just the audience. So I asked David, with my concern, if there was some way that he could provide a plexiglass shield here, like the Secret Service has for the president. And he said, no, unfortunately I can't, because there's not enough money in the resident council budget. But he said, I tell you what, I've convinced Gloria Magruder to let you use her footstool. So here's Gloria's footstool. And at least it gets me a little higher, and I can see the food coming incoming at a distance. So as I said, that this was a big worry I had today, because some of you are still eating, I can see that. What I want to do today is talk about advanced directives and pre-death planning, but I want to do it in a little different format than I have presented it previously. I was thinking about this, and I didn't think my previous speeches would be appropriate at a luncheon format, but I still wanted to get the information across to everybody, because I think it's really important for you to all have this information and act on it if you haven't already. So I started researching various things people have said about death and life and dying over the years, and I found this quote, and all of a sudden I thought, wow, that could be the overriding theme for my talk today. So I'm going to try to approach this with a little sense of humor today. I hope no one's offended because of the seriousness of the topic, but I think we can look at it hopefully with a sense of humor. And you can see the design of the slide there. I want to thank my in-house graphic designer, my wife Kathy, who's sitting right here, designed the slides today. So if you have some problem with the slides, you can't read them or you don't like them or something, Kathy will be available after. So I thought, well, a lot of people said about life, different perspectives on life. And here's what Honest Abe had to say about it. And then Will Rogers. And then Virginia Woolf, she took a break from writing her books, had that quote. And this is one of my favorites of the day. This is from Franz Kafka. I think he pretty well summed it up here. So then I thought, well, okay, I found some perspectives on life and living. What have some people had to say about the end of life and dying? So I found some of these quotes. And Woody, I like Woody's a lot. And this from Groucho Marx. And when I first saw that, I didn't understand it, and then I realized it's a line from one of his movies, and he was playing a doctor, and his patient flatlined, and Groucho bends down over him and came up with this line here. He wasn't really sure what was going on. And I like this practical quote here. And I know a lot of you at the Ark play various games. We have bingo and bunco and a new one that Martha Stevenson has started and others. So for you gamers, and then I thought I'd end this part of it by seeing what some famous men have had to say on the subject of death and dying. Here's what Winston Churchill had to say. And then General MacArthur had this quote. So quickly go through these end-of-life planning documents that I think you should all have. Hopefully you do, and hopefully they're on file at resident services. But you should all have a financial power of attorney. You should all have a medical power of attorney. A directive to physicians, also called a living will. Burial instructions. Then after you die, a will and or a trust. So these are the documents, very important documents that I think everyone in this room needs, not only for yourself, but for your family's sake. If you have these documents in place before you need them, it's going to make things much easier for you and your family. When you get to the point where you can't take care of your own affairs, for example, if you have the powers of attorney in place, it'll be a big help, save a lot of time for you and your family. So quickly, just a financial power of attorney. This is a document where you name an agent, someone to handle your affairs for you, if you're unable to do so yourself. Medical power of attorney works the same way, except it operates within the healthcare realm. If you're incapacitated, for example, and you can't make your own healthcare decisions, if you have this power of attorney in place, the agent can step in and make all the decisions for you. There are two types of power of attorney I want to quickly talk about. There's the durable and the springing. A durable power of attorney is one that takes place immediately upon signing. So as soon as you sign it, it goes into effect. It can go into effect. Doesn't mean it has to. You have it available if and when you need it. Springing power of attorney, on the other hand, doesn't take effect until you have some incapacity. But the problem with the springing power of attorney is someone has to determine what that word incapacity means. How severe does it have to be? Who's going to make that decision? A doctor, a court? So in my practice over the years, I've prepared hundreds of powers of attorney, but I never prepared a springing power of attorney. I always tried to recommend to my clients to do the durable so they would have it in their hip pocket if and when needed. Directive to physicians is also known as a living will. This is a document that comes in at the very end of your life when you either have a terminal illness or you have an irreversible condition. There's no agent involved with this document. It is strictly yours, and it tells the doctors what you want them to do at the end of your life. Do you want to be kept alive with artificial means, or do you want to let the doctor stop those, keep you pain-free, but let you die peacefully? And then burial instructions after you do die tells your survivors either you want to be buried and where that is, or you want to be cremated and the disposition of your cremated remains. I found this form when I was putting this presentation together, and I filled it out last week. Those of you that plan to be buried in a national cemetery, you have to meet eligibility requirements. But you can meet those ahead of time with this form, VA Form 40-1007. And you can fill this out online, or you can print it out and mail it into the VA. You need to send in a copy or scan a copy of your DD-214 and provide other information, and then the VA comes back and says, okay, we received all your information and you're good to go. When you die, you're literally, you're good to go. When you die, you can be buried in any national cemetery because you've already established your eligibility. And then after you die again, your will takes effect. And keep in mind that if you have powers of attorney, they end the day you die. So the agents under your power of attorney no longer have any legal authority to act on your behalf, because then whoever you name in your will as your executor, that person then takes over and administers your estate. And the executor takes care of everything during a process called probate if your estate requires a probate. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So your will is your own document. It can be as short as you want it. That was it, 3 words. Or, and this was Friedrich Handel, by the way, the composer of the Messiah. This was his will in 1906. And then it can be as long as you want it. And this is the longest will that I could find. So somewhere in between those is where you should have your will. And this was by a lady called Frederica Cook. She died in 1924. And then I mentioned probate, and all probate is a legal proceeding in a court where the judge admits your will, validates the will, meets all the legal requirements, appoints the person that you selected as executor, and then the executor can do whatever's necessary during the course of the probate to distribute your assets as you instructed in the will. Most probates last a year, maybe 2 years, unless there's a will contest or something that may go on longer. But I found this interesting. This lady, Myra Gaines, She lived from 1806 to 1885. Her estate probate took 57 years and began in 1832, ended in 1889. Very complicated. This case is the longest, not only the longest running probate in the U.S., but also the longest civil lawsuit in U.S. legal history. And it went up to the U.S. Supreme Court 9 different times. Finally got resolved. So when I give these presentations, people ask me, well, what is an estate? And over the years, I've come up with a simple answer. It's your stuff. So assets equal stuff, and stuff equals estate. So I want to give you some examples of what stuff you may have in your estate. You may be into real estate, and you may have a small place like on the left up in the hill country, or even smaller down at Rockport or Port A. Or if you're into mineral rights, you might have some oil wells out in Midland, or you may have a single gas pump, and that beauty there is in our son's house in Los Angeles. Or you may collect liquor. And I know so many of you in here are bourbon and whiskey collectors. I'm not going to mention any names, but you may have a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle there, bourbon. That particular bottle sells for $5,320. Or on the other end, you may have a $3.99 bottle of Mogan David 2020. And those of you that still remember your college days, remember that as Mad Dog 2020, right? If you're a car collector, you might have the Mercedes there on the left, sold for $140 million at auction. Or you may have your favorite Nash Rambler there, 1940 model. If you're an art collector, you might have a Picasso, or you might have Elvet on Velvis. That particular one is going for $26 on eBay. And if you're into jewelry, you might have something like the Hope Diamond, 45 carats, or your very first Mickey Mouse watch. So as you can see, you have a whole spread of what you can have in your, and if you're a lady or maybe a man so inclined, you might have the original Birkin bag here that sold for $10 million. Or you may still have the first pair of pedal pushers you made with your McCall's pattern. So those are some of the things. And if you're a gun collector, you might have this Colt 45 that Pat Garrett used to kill Billy the Kid. And that sold for $6 million at an auction. And the small one here was a little gun they made during World War II for resistance fighters. And at the time, it cost $2.10 to manufacture. And then if you're a collector, general collector, you might be into baseball cards. Mickey Mantle's original rookie card sold for $50 million. Or you may have your old Beanie Baby collection. And that one's going for $650 today on eBay. So again, the last document you may need after you pass away is a trust. And simply a trust is a contract between 3 people. You, the grantor or settler, create it. You name a trustee to handle all your assets. And then who gets the assets is the beneficiary. So to illustrate some of the mistakes that people have made with these documents, and hopefully you won't make them, I picked out some celebrities and just quickly go through some of the case studies here and the mistakes that these people have made. First of all, they either did not have a will, or they had a will, but it was ambiguous or it was outdated, or they described their assets insufficiently, leading to confusion, then leading to will contests and court litigation. Or there were ambiguities in their will, or it was alleged that there was undue influence involved to get the person to make the will. And finally, a questionable choice of the executor. They just picked the wrong person. So here's Princess Di. She started off doing the right thing. She had a will and basically left everything to William and Harry in equal shares. But then after she had her will, she took it upon herself in her own handwriting to write what she called a letter of wishes. And in that, she left various items to her 17 godchildren. Well, the problem was her handwritten letter of wishes wasn't a legal document. Whatever reason, it wasn't notarized or it wasn't witnessed or whatever. So the court threw it out. And the godchildren, instead of getting items and specific things that she wanted each of them to have, they ended up with just a small amount of money. So lesson learned here is make sure your documents meet all requirements, legal requirements. Don't try to do them yourself. If you need an amendment, for example, to your will because your life situation has changed, go to an estate planning attorney. Cost you a little money, but you know it'll be prepared correctly. And also make sure that all your documents are consistent, because if they're inconsistent, that's going to cause some problems legally down the road. Howard Hughes, he had a $42.5 billion estate. Problem is he didn't have a will or a trust. And because he didn't have a will or a trust, his estate was tied up for 34 years in California. And he wanted his estate to go to medical research, but after his death, he had people coming out of the woodwork claiming to be his relatives, nieces, nephews, fifth cousin twice removed, or whatever. And finally, the court resolved it after 34 years, and each of these 25 cousins got a little amount. Lesson learned here is to have a will or a trust. You baseball fans remember Ernie Banks. Ernie's problem was that his caregiver entered his life, pretty much took over, and then kept him from his family and redid his will, redid his other documents, and as a result, he ended up disinheriting his estranged wife and his 3 children. So the lesson learned here is to have an estate plan, make sure you implement it well in advance so when you need it, and keep your family members involved. We can't let our family members be, kept secret or hidden away from us by a caregiver who intends on taking everything. And then y'all remember seeing Larry King every night. So what he did, he had a 3-sentence holographic will. And a holographic will is just a will that is a handwritten will made in the handwriting of the person making it. And his will was thrown out because it didn't meet the legal requirements of a will like that in California. So the lesson is, don't rely on a holographic will. Probably the best lesson learned is don't get married 7 times. So then celebrity mistakes with trust. We've seen some with wills, now here's some with trust. Biggest problem is that people fail to fund their trust, and I'll go into that a little bit more. Or again, there are ambiguities in the trust. Who gets what, describe the asset, that type of thing. So here was the first really big mistake in a trust situation. Michael Jackson had a trust, but he didn't fund it with anything. And since he didn't fund it with anything, his estate's been tied up in litigation since 2009. And no inheritance has been distributed. And just recently, this year, his daughter Paris filed a claim against the co-executors, co-trustees, for mismanaging the estate. Plus, they undervalued it, and the estate's in a huge battle with the IRS. So the lesson learned is fund your trust, properly value your estate, and don't anger a daughter. So as you may know, a month ago at the Eagle Luncheon, Kathy and I were sitting next to Karen Curry, and she said, when she found out I was going to speak today, she said, you know, I had some really hard times administering my husband's affairs before and after he died. And she started to tell me about him, and I said, would you mind sharing those with your fellow residents today at the luncheon? So she agreed to do that. So I'm going to ask Colonel Curry to come up and tell us a little bit about what she found out the hard way administering her husband's estate. By the way, half of you in the room are going to really like Colonel Curry because she's a Texas A&M graduate. She got her PhD there in business.
Yes.
You need that.
Well, hi, everybody. Hi. I'm so glad to be here with you. Okay. I'm so glad to be here with you today. I'm from an Air Force family, and I'm really happy to be here with my fellow veterans and their family members. So thank you very much for being here to listen with me. As Dick has shown us, estate planning can be very complicated, and to me, the most challenging parts fall at the intersection of financial and legal issues. So I want to share with you 4 things that I discovered during the last 5 years because my husband Wayne was incapacitated after an emergency bypass operation in November of 2020, and I managed everything in our estate since that time. So I want to share with you 4 things that I found out, and then also share with you a book that I use to organize our affairs. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is if you have a trust and if you have an ARC entry fee contract that is a Plan 50 or a Plan 90, which means that when you pass or leave the ARC, your estate will get back either 50% or 90% of your ARC entry fee. Now, if you have a trust, you need to check with the finance office and ask them to write an assignment of rights back to your trust. This is a document that's prepared by the finance office. You can request it through an ArcWorks Hub request or talk to Lisa Rabinault in the finance office. Because if you don't have this specific document, when you pass, your entry fee will be refunded to your estate, and this will likely trigger probate. So to keep from this one particular issue from triggering probate, which is what you're trying to avoid if you have a trust, please check your documents. If you don't have this, then check with the finance office. I learned about this through the kindness of one of my neighbors. Next, if you have a car, you don't need to involve an attorney, a will, or a trust to pass it to someone of your choice. So you can designate a beneficiary for your car by going to the Department of Motor Vehicles website. You fill out their form, a VTR 12, and you can designate someone to receive your car when you die. And you have to have that person's name, their address, and also their driver's license number if you have it. You fill out this form online, and be sure you go to the official DMV website. Don't go to one of those third-party websites that's going to pop up when you Google this. So go to the DMV website, fill out this form. Also fill out the form for an application of Texas title, which is 130U or U130. take both of these documents, along with the money, $28 for a new title and your current title, and go out to the Department of Motor Vehicles, which is located very conveniently out 1604, just beyond the end of the Randolph Flight Line. Turn in all these documents, and in a couple of weeks, the Department of Motor Vehicles will email you a new title with the name of your beneficiary listed on it. And this takes precedence over any will or trust. So this is a very easy way to pass your vehicle to the person of your choice, and you don't have to, and you can change this as many times as you feel like paying for a new title, and you still can sell the car, and the person that you're leaving it to has no control over the car until you actually die. Now, this is a somewhat complicated process with the Social Security, and I hope that everyone will take advantage of this and designate the advanced designation of a representative payee for your Social Security account. Now, you have the easy way to do this is if you have an online account for your Social Security, you can go to your Social Security account online and just scroll down a little bit, and you will see advanced designation of a representative payee. And you'll see a screen pop up, and you can list several names here. And this will be the person who will manage your Social Security account in the event that you have been declared incapacitated and can no longer manage your own financial affairs. So you'll have the option to name several people. You will need to know their name, their relationship to you, and their telephone number. And this will be your representative payee who will be authorized to manage your account in the event that you have been declared incapacitated by a doctor and are no longer able to do this. Now, this is the easy way. Or you can do it the hard way. Just don't do anything right now. And then if, unfortunately, sometime in the future you become incapacitated, your family member or friend who has agreed to help you will have to go down to the Social Security office, have a personal interview, answer a number of questions under oath, undergo a criminal background check, and within a few weeks, the Social Security Administration will decide whether or not that this person is capable of managing your account for you. Now, please don't ask me how I know all this. But at any rate, so you have the easy way or the hard way. Now, I think as Dick's shown us, there can be some uncomfortable moments that take place in estate planning, and this might be one of them. So if you or your current spouse has been married more than one time, it's very important that you gather together all the marriage licenses, divorce decrees, and death certificates that might apply. So members of the current union should sit down and read together all of these documents and make sure that you have any questions about what the information is contained in them, that you ask the questions before there's no longer anyone left to ask the questions of. And I say this because you will have to, the survivor of your current union will have to answer questions with the Social Security Administration about all the marriages that the deceased was a part of, possibly the Veterans Administration, insurance companies, and other agencies that the deceased had business with. So you'll be answering these questions, and you don't want to be reading a divorce decree for the first time that you never saw before, and you have to answer questions to Social Security or someone else that wants to know about things that took place 50 years ago. And I just have to tell you, I did receive a letter from the Veterans Administration. It was addressed to my husband's said the family of Wayne Curry, and it said, if the veteran was married, please give us all the information about their marriage or marriages. Well, we've been married for 43 years, but somehow the VA didn't know that. So you never know what's going to happen, that some administrative goof-ups in the bureaucracy or what might happen, but there may be some questions that you have to answer that you're maybe not quite prepared to answer. Now, I don't recommend, because we've seen there's an awful lot of information to keep track of, I don't recommend that you start from scratch. I sat down during the summer of 2020, the pandemic summer, when there really wasn't anything else to do. We had to stay home all the time. And so I funded our trust, I did all the estate planning. I made sure that all the beneficiaries were updated. I have this book. This is available from Amazon. It's written by a lady named Melanie Cullen, and she thought her mother's estate was all tied up, with everything was great, but then she had to administer it after her mother passed, and she found out there were so many different things that she didn't know about. So she wrote a book called Get It Together, Organize Your Records so your family won't have to. This is the 8th edition that I used, but it's now available from Amazon in the 11th edition. And I actually had the opportunity a couple months ago to have a Zoom conference with Melanie Cullen, and that was really interesting, and I told her how much that her book helped me. The book helps you organize all your legal information, finance, tax documents, wills, trusts, burial information, what to do with your pets when you die, all sorts of things you can order. You can download from their website, NOLO, N-O-L-O, download from their website, the publisher's website, forms to help you fill in all this information. You can order notebooks that have the dividers that match the chapters in the book, or you just make your own dividers, because some of the chapters in the book may not apply directly to you. But at any rate, and there are a number of books on Amazon that might be, the same kind of book, but I recommend this one because I've used it personally, and it was very helpful to me. And you don't have to start from scratch and trying to keep track of all this. So I do think that, I do hope that some of what I've said to you has been helpful. We have handouts for you. We have the terms that Dick has explained, and as well the 5 points that I've just explained to you with more details. If you'd like to get that after the luncheon, or you can email me and I'll send you a copy. I hope this was helpful to you. And the last thing I'd like to say is, go Aggies.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, to wrap this up, look at some powers of attorney mistakes that they've made. Am I getting the hook?
Pretty close. Go ahead, you got 12
5 minutes?
seconds, go ahead. No, go ahead. Real quick though, please.
Okay, celebrities, they either had no power of attorney, or if they did, they named the wrong person as their agent, or they failed to name a successor agent if their primary couldn't do it for some reason, or they limited their agent by not giving them sufficient powers to take care of their affairs. Brian Wilson, founder of the Beach Boys, he had no power of attorney. He had dementia, and his wife was caring for him full-time, 24/7, up until her death in January of last year. So after his death, they had to go into court to get a conservatorship established. A very costly and lengthy court procedure. Would not have been necessary if he would have had powers of attorney in place, naming who he wanted to take care of him after his wife passed. Jay Leno, neither Jay nor his wife Mavis had any powers of attorney. Mavis, due to her dementia, Jay wanted to set up a trust for his wife, but because she was incapacitated, they had no powers of attorney. He was unable to do so. He had to go into court, get a conservator appointed. Lesson learned, prepare your powers of attorney before it's too late. Bruce Willis, you've probably all been following Bruce Willis's case, a very sad case. As of a few months ago, he can no longer speak, requires 24-hour care. He did not have any powers of attorney. Same situation, his wife had to go into court to be appointed his conservator and guardian. So again, have these powers of attorney in place before you need them. And then celebrity mistakes with fiduciaries. A fiduciary is just a person who owes you a legal and ethical requirement to do things in your best interest, not the fiduciary's best interest. So again, insufficient or unsuitable planning, undue influence comes into play, and a questionable choice of fiduciary, usually make the wrong choice. So Kobe Bryant, Kobe had a revocable trust. It was fine, it was legal. He last amended it in 2017. At that time he had 3 daughters. But then between 17 and 2020, when he died, he had another daughter. She wasn't named in the trust, so she was disinherited basically. So they had to go into court, modify the trust to list the daughter, the 4th daughter. So the lesson learned, let me go back a second here. The lesson learned with Kobe's case is when you use language, for example, you have 3 children, don't say I'll leave my estate to John and Mary and Bruce, because there may be another child coming down the road later on. Use words like I leave my estate to my children or to my issue, which is a legal term for children or heirs. And that way you're covered in case there are new heirs that come down the road. We all remember Casey Kasem, America's Top 40, every Saturday morning. Very sad case with Casey, no pun intended. But he had everything in place. He named his daughter from his first marriage as his agent and as his executor in his will. However, his second wife was somewhat crazy. She took over and she kidnapped Casey, moved him from a assisted living facility in Los Angeles to Washington State, kept him out of touch with his family. After he died, she shipped his body to Norway. She picked Norway because she found that she couldn't be extradited back to California to stand trial for all the elder abuse that she committed against Casey. So he's buried now in Norway. He had no connections to Norway. He was Lebanese. So lessons learned, be careful when choosing a second or third wife. And make sure you have open communication with everybody involved. And here's some helpful tips. Have a will, have appropriate fiduciaries, have successors, describe the items in your estate precisely so there's no ambiguities. Make sure your beneficiary designations are current. Don't hide the ball. By that I mean be open with your family. Let them know exactly what you have in your estate so there are no surprises when you die. And plan ahead, and by doing so you're helping your family. So finally, the meaning of life, as Cracker said, as it ends. Here's some of my personal estate planning actions. This is what I want on my tombstone. And then for my obituary, this is an actual obituary that was in the Denver Post 20 years ago, and I liked it so much, I printed it out and I carry it around in my death book. I call it at home. So I'm going to use this as the model for Kathy to write my obituary. Finally, I'll leave you with 2 quotes from George Carlin. The last one you can ponder as you leave here today, but I like this one a lot. And then finally, this one I like too. Okay, as you leave today at the back doors, there's this handout that describes in detail all these various documents. And please pick one up when you leave. And Karen and I'll be here to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dick. Karen. Couple things. They need to clean this room up pretty quick. There's another event starting at 3 o'clock that has to be completely set up for them. So if you want to visit with some folks, do it out in the lobby or the hallway so they can start working on this. Karen, would you come up here, please? I'd like to give both of you a ARC Challenge coin.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this. We really, really appreciate it. Dick,
Thanks,
thank
Dave.
you so much. All right, don't forget, no show next week, or next month, or next week. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
Can't help it.
Thanks.
One thing I wanted to tell you about that leftover money, that 50%, 90%. What I did, I think I was the first one to do it a couple of years ago when I moved in. I had them paid out to my beneficiaries. And I actually got it documented. And Gordon and I went round and round for a while. And not that he was causing a problem, but just to figure it out.
Right.
So they've got to figure it out. So it's just, I got a sheet from him. Here's your beneficiary. He's got his seal on it and signed. So I'm not using the trust. So you can do it that way too.
Okay,
And
good.
they're ready for it. I think I was the first one to do it because they were saying, what the hell are you doing? I said, I don't want it in my estate. That's what you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Just a suggestion. My father was a medical doctor in the Navy and et cetera, but he took my